Hey guys! Since I know a lot of you have never played Paladins and don't know much about it, I thought it would be helpful to make a video explaining the basics of the game. After watching this and maybe a couple of gameplay videos, you should be able to tell if it's something you might be interested in trying out. So to start off, Paladins has 3 main game modes, and sometimes there's an event game mode that's temporary. The first main game mode is Team Deathmatch. Paladins uses teams of 5, and the first team to reach 40 kills wins. The second game mode is one called Onslaught. In Onslaught, there is an objective that you need to capture, and standing on it increases your capture points. The first team to 400 points wins. The last game mode, and the most played one, is Siege. Siege is also the only game mode used in ranked matches. In Siege, you first have an objective to capture, and whichever team reaches 100% captured will spawn a payload. That team then needs to push the payload to the enemy base. Capturing the point and pushing the payload both give a team 1 point. The first team to reach 4 points wins. Preventing the enemy from pushing the payload does not award a point. Paladins' characters are called champions, and each champion falls into one of 4 different roles: damage, flank, front line, and support. Each champion is completely different and has a different playstyle, so you may have to experiment with them to find some that you like. Damage champions' primary focus is naturally damaging the enemy, usually the front lines, and then defending your team's backline. Flank champions typically try to cut around the enemy to get into their backline. Their primary goal is to kill the enemy's support or damage. Front lines are also called tanks. Their job is to capture the objectives and be in the front line of combat, pushing forward and using shields or other defenses to protect their team and allow them to do their thing. Supports can also be called healers. They sustain their team and keep them alive during tough situations. Healing is a very important part of Paladins, but it's also one of the easiest roles to fall into if you're starting out. At least that's how I felt whenever I was starting out. There are currently 40 different champions in Paladins. Each individual champion has 3 talents or legendary cards. You choose which one you want to use whenever you start a game. Each of these talents allows the champion to have an adjusted play style by causing some of their powers to have additional effects. Certain talents are good for certain group compositions or play styles. There are some talents that are better than others, but in a lot of cases it comes down to preference, because if you know what you're doing, you can make anything work. But that's not it for champion customization. You also have something called loadouts. Each champion has 16 different cards available, and you can customize a loadout by picking whatever cards you want. You can put up to 5 points in a single card. Loadouts must have a total of 15 points and must contain 5 different cards. Each of these cards add different effects to certain abilities, and each champion has different cards and 5 possible loadout slots, not counting the default loadout, so there is tons of room for customizing your playstyle. Each champion has 5 different abilities. They have their primary fire, and that usually expends ammunition and must be reloaded after a short time. They then have 3 main abilities, which go on cooldown after their use. Sometimes champions have cards to reduce cooldowns on these abilities. The 5th power is the champion's ultimate power. You gain ultimate charge by dealing damage or healing your allies. You do gain ultimate charge passively, but it is very slow. Ultimate powers are very powerful, and sometimes that can be the difference between your team winning or losing a game. Once you're in a match, you passively earn a currency called credits. The passive rate is very slow. You can earn more credits by dealing damage, healing, eliminating enemies, capturing or contesting the objective, and pushing the payload. You spend these credits on items. In Siege and Onslaught, you can only purchase items while you're in your spawn. Items are in 4 categories: offensive, healing, utility, and defensive. You can have a max of 4 different items, and there are 3 tiers of each item. Each tier costs more credits, so it's important to manage how many credits you have and what items you need. Choose what items you buy based on how the game is going and what you feel is most important. Capturing the objective grants everyone on your team a bonus 300 credits, and this can put your team at a big advantage. Now note that this is specifically for the Siege game mode. Well guys, that's about it for the basics of Paladins. I only covered the most basic stuff, so let me know if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them all. Also, let me know if you'd be interested in additional guides like individual champion guides, strategy, and so on. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!